So the meth was introduced then, and how long did that continue?
I did meth for about 10 months. And
Okay.
It went from smoking the meth and getting high and staying up for days to there came a point where I wasn't getting high. So I started shooting the meth.
Okay.
And then I got high at first from that for a minute. And then there came a time where I was just chasing something and wasn't feeling anything. I mean, in the end, I was shooting meth and I felt better before I shot the meth. Like, as far as like being so just down and like I just was not getting high.
Yeah. So that you felt better before doing it. Why would you go on and do it?
Because I kept chasing what I felt the first time. Like I was wanting what I felt the first time and I wasn't getting it. So I was shooting like a gram of dope at a time.
Oh my.
Several times a day.
Yeah, that is a lot.
And still just like, why am I not feeling it?
Yeah.
Like just chasing it.
If you've spent much time around people in addiction, then you've probably heard that they are usually not happy in that addiction. They're usually miserable in that addiction. So then if you're like me, then you wonder, why on earth would you continue? Why wouldn't you change your path then at that point? Well, if you've wondered these things, then you've made it to the right place. This is The Local Lens, the podcast from the Powell County Health Department and Kentucky Rio, where we go inside our community's experience with the drug epidemic. On this week's episode, we sit down with Miss Lois Goodwin from Clay City, Kentucky, and we really dive into why she was using and why she kept using, and then eventually how that path changed for her. And we're calling this episode The Chase, because as you'll hear in Lois's story, she was always pursuing that good feeling, and she used to be able to get it from drug usage. And you'll see that what started as pretty common teenage behavior turned into something outside of her control and took over her life. Well, let's go on and get into it. My name is Nate Brooks. I am your host, and you're listening to The Local Lens from the Powell County Cares Project and Kentucky Rio. These are our people using our voices, telling our stories, because no one sees it like we do.
So, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Lois Goodwin. I'm from Clay City, Kentucky, where I've grew up. I'm a recovering addict. Currently have 16 months clean.
Lois, you have a story to tell. You've been through it. I guess we'll just open up with that and give your spiel. What's your story?
Okay, growing up, like I had a really good childhood. I feel like it was just an amazing childhood. I had two parents that loved me. Like we had everything that we wanted, everything that we needed. So I grew up with like 4 brothers and a sister. So I have a really big family. So we're really close.
How old were you when you started using?
I started smoking pot right at the end of my senior year in high school.
Okay.
And then it led to I smoked pot for a couple of years before I really done any harder drugs. Then I started doing pills when I was like 20. And at first it was just like weekends and stuff like that, just kind of like social using, I would say. And I did that for about a year and a half, and then these pills called 30s came out.
Called
And
30s?
Yes.
Okay.
And whenever I did those, like that was what really spiraled me into my addiction.
So, they're called, what are they?
They're oxycodone.
Okay. So, was it the kind of thing where like as soon as you took it, you were like, oh, this is different. This changes things.
It was a little more stronger than like what I had been doing, like Vortabs. But like I was at work one day and I felt like so bad, like I thought I had the flu. And one of the girls that I worked with, she used to, and I was like, man, I think I'm coming down with like the flu or something. I think I'm sick. And she's like, it's those pills. And I was like, it can't be. Like I don't do that much of it. Like I don't even do them every day. And she was like, that's what it is. And so I had gotten a pill and, did it and automatically felt better.
Oh, yeah.
So right then I was like, wow, like how could, I didn't know,
Yeah.
I didn't really know about addiction at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Because like my parents had talked to me about drugs and stuff, but it was this person could do it and get high and feel good, and this and you do it and it kill you.
Mm-hmm.
So I was more scared of dying
Mm-hmm.
and didn't really know that you could get addicted to it, like that it consume your whole entire life like it did.
That makes sense. Was that kind of shared by other people you were around then? Did you all kind of have the same look on it, or did you talk to anybody else about like anything when you first started noticing like it could be an addiction that was forming?
I didn't really talk to anybody about it because I didn't want anybody to know that I was doing it.
Okay.
Because my parents were, just always so proud of me and always bragged on me. So, like, I didn't want them to know that, I was having to take something to keep from being sick, to go to work, to get up every day.
Yeah. So, how often were you taking the 30s?
After that, it was every day because I would
Okay.
be sick if I didn't have it, and I knew that it would instantly make me feel better.
So you seem to be on the train of like addiction is a disease that changes your chemicals
Yes.
and all that stuff. And that's kind of crazy that you just noticed that happening as much as it was. That's unique. I've not heard anybody say that to me. Like I've heard a lot of people say like once they started using, they were like they really liked the high of it and like kept going back for the high, but it seems like you were almost just avoiding the lows, like the come downs for it.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, the high from it was, like, whenever I first, for a while, whenever I first started doing it, like, I couldn't take too much of it or I would be sick. Like, that would make me, like, sick.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just do just enough to kind of, make me feel better.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, I guess I would get high
Yeah.
in the process, but I just didn't want to feel sick. I didn't want to feel like that.
So when you started with the pill, or before you started with the pills, when you were just smoking weed, what was the drive to that? Was it just kind of being a high schooler?
Yeah, kind of, and it was just something I would do at nighttime.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't do it during the day, or
Mm-hmm.
I would just do it at nighttime
Mm-hmm.
and then go to sleep.
It just seems innocent enough, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's a lot of people like have that experience. So what were you looking for when the pills came up as anything? Why did the pills? Why were they considered? Why did they enter the picture?
I was dating a guy he used, and I didn't know that at first, but then whenever I found out, it was a kind of a fight, because I was like, why would you, why are you doing this?
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, okay, well, I want to see what it's about. I want to see why this is, what this is about.
And when was that?
I was 20, so that was probably in 2008.
So how long were you using then before eventually getting clean?
I used pills and for about 12 years.
Yeah.
I mean, 15 years altogether with the marijuana.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then why did you start looking to get clean?
I had gotten pregnant with my little girl in 2013. I had her in 2014.
Okay.
But whenever I got pregnant with her, whenever I found out, like, I went to the doctor and I was like, I need some help. Like, I'm a drug addict and I don't want to lose my kid.
Mm-hmm.
So that's whenever I got introduced to Suboxone, Subutex.
Okay.
Because that was something that they would give you when you were pregnant so that you wouldn't be sick and withdrawn.
So just to give a basic definition of this medication, essentially what's happening is that craving for an opiate substance is being filled, but there's no dopamine release that comes with it. So essentially it's taking away both the lows and the highs and is just kind of dampening the whole situation. If you want to know more about this medical-assisted treatment and all of these medicines, then we have a whole episode for that with Dr. Cassis and Dr. Kinnan, but you can go find that link in the description of this episode.
I did feel like the doctor really did care.
Mm-hmm.
Like he wanted to make sure I was passing my drug test. He wanted to make sure that,
Mm-hmm.
like they did regular pill counts to make sure that, you weren't
Mm-hmm.
trading your stuff or selling your stuff. So I felt like they really were trying to make an impact on,
Mm-hmm.
giving it out and
Yeah.
how they did it.
And did it help?
It did.
Yeah. How? What was the difference?
I could take it. I never got high from that.
Okay.
Like I never felt a high from it. I just felt normal and I wasn't sick.
Okay. Okay, and you weren't sick, and that was probably like the biggest thing, right?
That
Like,
was the main thing.
Yeah. So, man, that's hard though. Like just to it still is just blowing my mind that you felt the sickness starting. Like did you so you were on Suboxone for a while. How long were you using Suboxone?
After I had my little girl, I started doing pills again.
Okay.
And quit doing the Suboxone. And that lasted for about 9 months, and I went back to the Suboxone doctor.
Okay.
And then I would do good for like a while, like
Mhm.
6, 7, 8 months. I would not do anything but take my Suboxone and live my life normally.
Mhm.
But that wasn't getting me high,
Yeah.
and I wanted to feel it high, but I didn't want to be sick.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So I'd usually go back out and use for a week or two, and then I would do good for another 6, 8 months.
That's strange. Did you think that was strange when you were doing it, or were you just like fine with it? How I don't know. How did you feel during that whole time? Was it fine?
I didn't want to do it, but I wanted to be high, I guess.
Yeah. So it was more just kind of like how some people go on like a weekend bender, like
Yeah.
and yeah. Okay. And so you said it's been 16 months now that you've been clean of that.
Yes.
What eventually helped you kick it all together?
Like the Suboxone, I was back and forth, and then eventually Neurontin was a big thing. So I was
Okay.
taking the Suboxone and the Neurontin wasn't showing up in drug tests.
Mhm.
And it's something that kind of made me feel a little drunk, which I didn't like the drunk feeling at first.
Mm-hmm.
But anything that I've ever tried, I didn't like it at first. It either
Okay.
made me sick
Mhm.
or paranoid, but
Mhm.
I still became addicted to it
Mhm.
somehow. So just back and forth with that, and then I tried meth, and that really spiraled my life out of control.
Okay. And when was this?
That was in 2018.
I just want to step in and note how gradual this progression has been. This has been a really long-running chase for Lois, and it's not done yet either.
Why was meth introduced?
I was actually with Suboxone. Like if you take pills on top of it, you're really not going to feel the effects of the pills because
Okay.
you're on the Suboxone and it has a blocker in it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're wanting to feel some type of high, you're going to have to use something else. And at that time, I didn't. The only thing that I felt like would get me high was Xanax.
Mm-hmm.
So I would take Xanax, and I looked for like weeks and couldn't find any Xanax. So finally I tried meth because that was something that I could feel the effects of while taking the Suboxone.
So, wait, did you say that you were looking for Xanax and couldn't find any?
Yes.
But you could find the meth pretty easily.
Yes.
So, the meth was introduced then, and how long did that continue?
I did meth for about 10 months. And
Okay.
it went from smoking the meth and getting high and staying up for days to there come a point where I wasn't getting high. So I started shooting the meth.
Okay.
And then I got high at first from that for a minute, and then there came a time where I was just chasing something and wasn't feeling anything.
Mm-hmm.
So far, this has been your textbook example of how you build a long-term addiction. It's been such a clear picture of how your dopamine is just kind of teased out and obliterated in your head. And then your body gets used to it, and then you push harder, and your body gets used to it, and you push harder, and you wind up injecting meth into your arm. Lois's story is a ridiculously clear picture of the science behind this. If you do want to hear more about the science, then again, I encourage you to go listen to Dr. Cassis's episode where we try to unfold it. But let's get back into it.
And that's crazy how clear of a picture, like, you've just shown for that, though.
I mean, in the end, I was shooting meth, and I felt better before I shot the meth. Like, as far as, like, being so just down and, like, I just was not getting high.
Yeah. So that you felt better before doing it. Why would you go on and do it?
Because I kept chasing what I felt the first time. Like, I was wanting what I felt the first time, and I wasn't getting it. So I was shooting like a gram of dope at a time.
Oh, my.
Several times a day.
Yeah, that is a lot.
And still just, like, why am I not feeling it?
Yeah.
Like, just chasing it. I mean, I was staying up for days, so, like, the effects of what it causes I was having, like, not eating, not sleeping, staying up for days. But just that feeling that I felt the first time, like, I couldn't feel that. And that's what I wanted to feel.
What was the feeling the first time?
It was just, like, I don't know, like, going up, and it was just, like, like the most sensational feeling that I've ever felt.
And it was, like, immediate.
Yes.
Yeah. That is. So do you remember there was a game that we did in elementary school where, like, you squeeze your wrist and you make a tight fist, and then when you let go of your wrist, like, the blood flows back into your arm.
Yeah.
And you just feel it coming all the way back into your hand.
Yes.
Was it kind of like that?
Kind of, but it's there's a feeling with it. It's kind of indescribable. It just feels so good to you at that point. Like, anything that you're feeling, like any thoughts you're having, like, it just clears it, every bit of it.
And how long does it last?
After that, usually I would get, like, a bunch of energy, and in the beginning, I would get a bunch of energy and, like, want to just talk, and felt fantastic. So I'll describe it.
How long? You keep saying it was the first time that you were chasing. Was the second time much different, or?
About the first month was like gradually, I guess, going down. Like, I was feeling that feeling, but not as strong as I did the first time.
Yeah. And how long were you shooting before you were just, like, before you quit, I guess? Because you said you used for 10 months.
Yeah, I only shot dope for about 3 months.
Okay.
So, for about the first month, it was great. And then the other 2 months, like, the second month was okay. And then the third month was just...
So what was the next step then for you?
The next step for me, my mom, Casey, lawed me.
Okay. Which, thanks to her for that. And it worked the first time?
Yes.
Okay. So, how was that?
There's a little story behind that. When I was 15, my dad's mom, which is my grandmother, and her name is the same as mine, she passed away in 1998. Well, in 2002, I was 15 years old, and I was laying in bed one night, and I could hear my grandma tell me to go get my dad and put his shoes on and go check on my papaw.
Oh, my.
And she told me this 3 times, and I was like, well, my dad's going to think that I'm crazy if I go wake him up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, the next morning when we got up to go to school, the phone rang, and he had hit a telephone pole and had a massive heart attack, and they were rushing him to the hospital. So right then, I was like, that was real. That was real.
Yeah.
And I was like, if you ever come to me again, I'll listen to everything you have to say. So towards the end of my addiction, she showed up. Like, I could hear her tell me, she said, if there's anything that you cannot do on your own, that you're not strong enough to do, go to your mom and she can do it for you. And so I went and told my mom, and I said, but I have no idea what she's talking about. And my mom, Casey, lawed me.
Wow.
And so after I'd been in treatment for 3 months, I was like, that's what she meant.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that at the time.
So were you appreciative when your mom, Casey, lawed you, or were you resistant?
No, I was mad.
You're mad?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. I think everyone I've ever talked to about it was mad about it.
Yes, I was upset.
Why were you upset?
I was, Because I just felt like I wasn't hurting them. Like, I was only hurting myself.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, it was my life, and I wanted to live my life how I wanted to. And I wasn't ready to quit, even though I was sick and tired of it. I still wasn't ready to give it up.
And when again in the whole picture did you hear from your grandmother?
It was right at the end of my addiction, so probably about a month and a half before my mom, Casey, lost me.
Yeah. That is... And you're, like... I'm looking at you in your face right now, and you're honest about
Yes.
this. That is incredible. That is the wildest thing.
And I think it scared my parents because she had been passed away for 21 years at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, if we don't do something for her, she's going to die. Like,
Yeah.
So.
Do you think you would have continued until you just overdosed?
Yes. Whenever I went to treatment, I weighed 87 pounds.
87 pounds. How much do you weigh right now?
Now
If
I weigh
that's
like
fine to ask.
No, that's fine. Now I weigh probably about 138.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
80, and you were 87 pounds.
Yes.
That's not much at all. I feel like my left leg weighs 87 pounds.
Like it was bad.
Yeah.
It was really bad. And I didn't realize at that time how bad it was.
Mhm.
Now I can look back at my mugshot from 16 months ago and like it doesn't even look like me.
Yeah. And 16 months ago.
Yes.
So your daughter has been around this whole time. Where has she been through all this?
In 2017, like social services came in and took her from me. So she lived with her paternal grandmother, her dad's mom.
Okay.
And then that's whenever I did really good on the Suboxone. For about 13 months, I did really good on the Suboxone. I went to meetings. I got really involved. And I got custody of her back within 10 months.
Okay.
But once I did that, about 3 months later, I had gotten some Xanaxes. And my thought was, I'm only going to do a little bit. Nobody's going to know. Like, I can keep it hid. And that little bit led to me getting pulled over, winding up in jail with a DUI, getting my car impounded, losing custody of my little girl. I lost everything I worked 13 months for in 30 minutes.
30 minutes?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fast. And then from there, did that kick you back into some bad spiral, or?
That's when I would try for a few months and I would do good, but then I was just...
Okay.
Back, because I felt like a disappointment to everyone after that, because everyone was just so proud and you know, just was really good, especially my parents was really glad that I was doing something different.
Yeah.
And then I just felt like a disappointment, so it was really hard for me at that time to constantly just take the Suboxone.
So where are you at with those feelings now?
The feelings of
like feeling like a disappointment, like does that still linger, or?
No, I have a lot of acceptance now.
Okay.
Like I did do all this stuff, and that was something that happened, and it's not happening now. And like the only thing I can do is change what I'm doing today.
Yeah, good. And did that come through being Casey Lawed?
Yes.
And you hear consistently that mental shift is necessary for recovery.
There was some difference when you were put into recovery from Casey's Law. That.
Yes.
What do you think the difference was?
I feel like my grandma had a lot to do with that.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I got excited about life because, I don't know. It was just an amazing feeling that she, came to me. And so I missed my court date for Casey's Law. I was in Lexington at the time. And I missed my court date on a Friday, and Sunday morning I woke up at the apartment I was staying in, and the law was there. And I had a warrant for failure to appear.
Oh, man.
So I spent 3 days in Fayette County, and then they brought me to Powell County. And then I spent 10 days there before I went to treatment. But while I was in there, I had this I don't know, like peace maybe come over me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, like, let's just see if this is even possible. Because I hadn't been clean since pretty much hadn't been clean since high school,
Yeah.
you know, with the marijuana too.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's see if this is possible.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I'm going to go to treatment, and I'm going to learn as much as I can. I'm going to put as much effort into it as I can to see where it leads.
Did that enthusiasm, how long did that last?
It really never faded.
Oh,
like,
good.
I went and
Great.
I just started working on myself and gained a lot of acceptance, and I was
Good.
like, I'm exactly how I'm supposed to be. Like, this is all has a reason and a purpose, and
Yeah.
the only thing I can do is, you know, just take off from here and just do what I should have been doing anyway.
Do you feel different now than you did even 4 years ago when you were just on Suboxone?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I say that Suboxone is a stepping stone to get you to where you need to be.
Okay.
But, like, the difference from active drug use to Suboxone is just as big of a difference as it is from Suboxone to being
Yeah.
completely clean.
Okay. Because what Suboxone does, it cuts off the high. It kind of puts a cap on it, right?
Yes.
Is that
And I feel like it suppresses, like, emotions and feelings
okay?
that
Yeah.
that you could be feeling that you're not feeling.
Yeah. And that makes sense. That makes sense. And it also makes sense how that would be helpful, but how it's also not the end goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. Do you have any other thoughts on medical assisted treatment, on any Suboxone stuff? Do you have
I feel like it does work if
Mhm.
you take it like you're supposed to, and you get. I feel like you have to do other work with it. You can't just take the Suboxone. And,
Okay.
And you got to get involved in, some type of meetings or, something like that
Mhm.
for it to work. Counseling. Like, you
Yeah.
got to put forth work just like you would if you're clean. It amazes me daily, my life today. If you would have told me that I could have this life,
Mhm.
I would have been like, I don't know,
Mhm.
I don't know why you think that, but I don't think it's possible.
So comparing this now to the feeling of chasing that first high, what's the difference between because you just said that this is the life, pretty much.
Yes.
Why?
It's just so much better. This in a sense is sort of a high that's not affected by drugs. So you have this high and you don't have all these negative consequences that you're losing stuff and messing up relationships, and so it's like a different. I had got this peace that surpasses all understanding, which I didn't understand it at the time. April was one that we were talking about that, and I was like, that's what that was, because I didn't know what it was at the time. But now I chase that. I want to feel just that peace and just to know everything's going to work out. Everything's just exactly how it's supposed to be.
I'm going to get very cheesy here, and I apologize for that. But it's safe to say that we are all a part of this same chase. We all want to feel good, we all want to be happy. But as cheesy as it is to say, drugs don't deliver on that. They start off looking like they will, but they don't follow through with that promise. Well, that's all the time that we have here today, though. I really want to thank Lois Goodwin for being brave and honest and vulnerable and answering every single question I threw at her. We just saw straight into the mind of somebody who was addicted for years. And thank you, Lois, for letting us learn from your experience. Also, thanks to WSKV for broadcasting our show. Well, you've been listening to The Local Lens from the Powell County Health Department, the Powell County Cares Project, and Kentucky Rio's Coach Project. These are our people, using our voices, telling our stories, because no one sees it like we do.